Welcome back. We can't see the work of these next 5 artists, but they're essential to the art of filmmaking. They are the composers nominated for this year's Best Original Score. Argentinian musician and producer Gustavo Santaolalla wrote both original songs and the bare, sorrowful score for Brokeback Mountain. Frequent Pedro Almodovar collaborator Alberto Iglesias introduced elements of African and world music into his score for The Constant Gardener. Italian composer Dario Marianelli is also making his Oscar debut with his subtle and restrained compositions for Pride and Prejudice. Competing against the first-time nominees and himself is composer John Williams. Williams is nominated for 2 scores. His sensitive compositions for Memoirs of a Geisha features cellist Yo-Yo Ma and violinist Itzhak Perlman. And for Munich, Williams matches the mood of a tense, anxious film. The nominations are the 44th and 45th of Williams' career, tying him with legendary composer Alfred Newman and making him the most nominated person alive today.
Well, these nominations are always wonderful to receive. People tell me that I've been nominated 45 times, which is something I can't, it's almost a surprise to me. I can't figure quite how that many years have gone by so quickly with Geisha and Munich. It's a lovely surprise. I certainly didn't expect that. Even though I've had quite a few nominations, each one is very special. You know, we really don't live on our past accomplishments or future promises. We really live in the present and in the now of things. And so I'm not saying it feels like the first time. It's a very happy and gratifying experience. The way I work, which is still pencil and paper, and makes it so that I can really only do one film at a time. I've been very fortunate with the collaborators that I've had this particular year, Steven Spielberg and Rob Marshall in the case of Geisha. I've had a long, over 30 years collaboration with Steven Spielberg, and while we're not married in any sense of the word, and I don't take his next project as a matter of something for granted, but I've been working consistently with Steven and probably expect to as long as I have the energy and ability to do it. Arthur Golden's book gave me a special insight into the culture of geisha.
Has been to bring myself closer to you.
And I thought it was a fantastic love story between Sayuri and the chairman, irresistible from that point of view. And when Steven Spielberg acquired the rights to make the film shortly after the book was published, I was so excited, and I said to Steven, I can't wait to have the opportunity, should I get it, to do this film. And it was really Spielberg who introduced me to Rob Marshall. And I enjoyed, I have to say, every moment of working with him. He'd obviously worked with composers before in the theater, very comfortable with going to the piano and having me demonstrate a theme or an idea. Wonderful in the process of recording. He would sit and listen to the recording, always appreciatively, occasionally with a suggestion of a change or an idea, always constructive, always helpful. Rob and I talked initially about the music would have to have Japanese flavoring and texture, which would mean to me that we would have to use a Japanese flute, which is the shakuhachi and the koto and shamisen and taiko drums and all the gear that go into making Japanese music. But Rob's idea was an extension of that. So it's a combination of bringing the East and West together musically, if you like, and a kind of, you could almost say, universal musical cast. In the case of Sayuri's theme is represented by the cello, by Yo-Yo Ma, and it is thread through the film more consistently than anything else in the score. It's a melodic and instrumental identification, if you like, between the audience, Sayuri, and the cello. In the case of Itzhak Perlman playing the violin, Rob talked about having a kind of beautiful waltz.
Smile for me, won't you? There now.
The violin of the chairman's waltz depicting the relationship, or the potential relationship between Sayuri and the chairman. There's another element in the score, which is percussion, really, both synthesized and acoustic, which represent the idea of water, its inexorable flow, the fact that it can't be stopped, a definition of destiny, I suppose you could say.
A true geisha can stop a man in his tracks with a single look. You are ready.
I think I would say maybe 3 or 4 sequences where you have a kind of spinning effect of the water. I'm remembering after the war, when you see the river and you see the red silk, and it will look like blood at first, but it becomes the silk. Actually, it will start with a little spinning figure, but it's accompanied by oboe and in this case 2 cellos. I would say those are the 3 central elements in the score. I think Munich may have less music in it than most of Spielberg's films. So to begin with, I think the collaboration there was one of, I'm going to use the word restraint. And I think we both felt that the film was closer, let's say, to a documentary film than to an action film. But I think Steven felt realism in this case was perhaps even more important and more desirable to achieve. And a lot of times when you want things to be very, very realistic and stark, it's best to leave the orchestra out and let it function in some other capacity. In the score of Munich, one of the things I felt I could try to achieve would be to give most or all of the music the kind of atmosphere of the Middle East, of Israel and of Palestine and that geographic part of the world. Avner's theme is a lamentation almost that I tried to treat very delicately throughout the film. There's a sort of heartbeat drum-like instrument that people may notice, trying to get a sense of some kind of organic pulse that sounded animal-like or even human, if you like, a heartbeat. I associated with the various raids, the various missions that the Israelis were on, that we hear that synthesized heartbeat, drumbeat thing coming in as they go off on each mission, so that we're remembering the experience, the bitterness, the difficulty of the one before. And each mission gets tougher and tougher and tougher psychologically on everybody. There are universalisms in music, audible ones and emotional ones, that can describe emotions and across the boundaries of language. And that's a great opportunity for film music and a big part of its functioning.